minutes, a lively scene was enacted there. Meg was grateful to see that Miss Kate, though 20, was dressed with a simplicity that American girls would do well to imitate, and who was much flattered by Mr. Ned's assurances that he came especially to see her. Joe understood why Laurie primmed up his mouth when speaking of Kate, for that young lady had a stand-off, don't touch me air, which contrasted strongly with the free and easy demeanor, I don't know, demeanor of the other girls. Beth took an observation of the new boys and decided that the lame one was not dreadful, but gentle and feeble, and she would be kind to him on that account. Amy found Grace a well-mannered, merry little person, and after staring dumbly at one another for a few minutes, they suddenly became very good friends. Tents, lunch, and croquet utensils had been sent on beforehand. The party was soon embarked, and the two boats pushed off together, leaving Mr. Lawrence waving his hat on the shore. Laurie and Joe rowed one boat, Mr. Brooke and Ned the other. What is this one? While Fred Fugan, the writers, I think. Let me highlight this. Writer's twin did his best to upset both by battling about in a worry like a disturbed water bug. Joe's funny hat deserved a word of thanks, for it was of general utility. It broke the ice in the beginning by producing a laugh. It created quite a refreshing breeze, flapping to and fro as she rowed, and would make an excellent umbrella for the whole party if a shower came up, she said. Kate looked rather amazed at Joe's proceedings, especially as she exclaimed Christopher Columbus when she lost her oar, and Laurie said, "My dear fellow, did I hurt you?" when he tripped over her feet in taking his place. But after putting up her glass to examine the strange girl several times, Miss Kate decided that she was odd, but rather clever, and smiled upon her from afar. Meg, in the other boat, was delightfully situated face to face with the rowers, who both admired the prospect and feathered their oars with uncommon skill and dexterity. What a word. I like this one and this one. Mr. Brooke was a grave, silent young man with handsome brown eyes and a pleasant voice. Meg liked his quiet manners and considered him a walking encyclopedia of useful knowledge. He never talked to her much, but he looked at her a good deal, and she felt sure that he did not regard her with aversion. Ned, being in college, of course, put on all the airs which freshmen think it their bounden duty to assume. He was not very wise, but very good-natured and merry, and altogether an excellent person to carry on a picnic. Sally Gardiner was absorbed in keeping her white bouquet dressed clean, and chattering with the ubiquitous Fred, who kept Beth in constant terror by his pranks. It was not far to Long Meadow, but the tent was pitched and the wickets down by the time they arrived. A pleasant green field with 3 wide spreading oaks in the middle, and a smooth strip of turf for the croquet. "Welcome to Camp Lawrence," said the young host as they landed, with exclamation of delight. Brooke is commander-in-chief. I am commissary general. The other fellows are staff officers, and you, ladies, are company. The tent is for your special benefit, and that oak is your drawing room. This is the mess room, and the third is the camp kitchen. Now, let's have a game before it gets hot, and then we'll see about dinner. Frank, Beth, Amy, and Grace sat down to watch the game played by the other 8. Mr. Brooke chose Meg, Kate, and Fred. Laurie took Sally, Joe, and Ned. The Englishes played well, but the Americans played better and contested every inch of the ground as strongly as if the spirit of 76 inspired them. Joe and Fred had several skirmishes. What's this word? Skirmishes, and once narrowly escaped highwards. Joe was through the last wicket and had missed the stroke, which failure ruffled her a good deal. Fred was close behind her, and his turn came before hers. He gave a stroke. His ball hit the wicket and stopped an inch on the wrong side. No one was very near, and running up to examine, he gave it a sly nudge with his toe, which put it just an inch on the right side. I am through. Now, Miss Joe, I'll settle you and get in fast," cried the young gentleman, swinging his mallet for another blow. What is this one? "You pushed it. I saw you. It is my turn now," said Joe sharply. "Upon my word, I didn't move it. It rolled a bit, perhaps, but that is allowed. So stand off, please, and let me have a go at the stake. We don't cheat in America, but you can if you choose," said Joe angrily. "Yankees are a deal the most tricky, everybody knows." "There you go," returned Fred, crocketing her bowl far away. Joe opened her lips to say something rude, but checked herself in time, colored up to her forehead, and stood a minute hammering down a wicket with all her might, while Fred hit the stake and declared himself out with much exultation. "Yep, this one." She went off to get her ball, and was a long time finding it among the bushes, but she came back looking cool and quiet, and waited her turn patiently. It took several strokes to regain the place she had lost, and when she got there, the other side had nearly won, for Kate's ball was the last but one, and lay near the stake. "But George, it is all up with us. Goodbye, Kate. Miss Joe owes me one, so you are finished," cried Fred excitedly, as they all drew near to see the finish. "Yankees have a trick of being generous to their enemies," said Joe, with a look that made the lad redden, especially when they beat them. She added, as leaving Kate's ball untouched, she won the game by a clever stroke. Laurie threw up his hat. Then, remembering that it wouldn't do to exult over the defeat of his guests. Highlight this one. He stopped in the middle of a cheer to whisper to his friend, "Good for you, Joe. He did cheat. I saw him. We can't tell him so, but he won't do it again. Take my word for it." Meg drew her aside under pretense of pinning up a loose braid and said approvingly, "It was dreadfully provoking, but you kept your temper, and I'm so glad, Joe. Don't praise me, Meg, for I could box his ears this minute. I should certainly have boiled over if I hadn't stayed among the nettles till I got my rage under enough to hold my tongue. It is simmering. It's simmering now, so I hope he'll keep out of my way," returned Joe, biting her lips as she glowered at Fred from under her big hat. Time for lunch, said Mr. Brooke, looking at his watch. "Commissary General, will you make the fire and get water while Miss March, Miss Sally, and I spread the table? Who can make a good coffee?" "Joe can," said Meg, glad to recommend her sister. So Joe, feeling that her late lessons in cookery were to do her honour, went to preside over the coffee pot while the children collected dried sticks and the boys made a fire and got water from a spring nearby. Miss Kate sketched and Frank talked to Beth, who was making little mats of braided rushes to serve as plates. All right, see how many minutes? 12. The commander-in-chief and his aides soon spread the tablecloth with an inviting array of eatables and drinkables, prettily decorated with green leaves. Joe announced that the coffee was ready and everyone settled themselves to a hearty meal, for youth is seldom dyspeptic. What's this one? And exercise develops wholesome appetites. A very merry lunch it was, for everything seemed fresh and funny, and frequent peals of laughter startled a venerable horse who fed nearby. There was a blazing inequality in the table, which produced many mishaps, I think, to cups and plates. Acorns dropped into the milk. Little black ants partook. No, I think this one too. Acorns, Patrick. This one too, of the punishments, without being invited, and fuzzy caterpillars swung down from the tree to see what was going on. 3 white-headed children peeped over the fence, and an objectionable dog barked at them from the other side of the river with all his might and main. "There's salt here, if you prefer it," said Laurie as he handed Joe a saucer of berries. "Thank you, I prefer spiders," she replied, fishing up 2 unwary little ones who had gone to a creamy death. "How dare you remind me of that horrid dinner party when yours is so nice in every way," added Joe, as they both laughed and ate out of one plate, the china having run short. "I had an uncommonly good time that day and haven't got over it yet. This is no credit to me. You know, I don't do anything. It is you and Meg and Brooke who make it go, and I'm no end obliged. obliged to you. What shall we do when we can't eat any more? Asked Laurie, feeling that his trump card had been played when lunch was over. Have games till it is cooler. I brought authors and dare say Miss Kate knows something new and nice. Go and ask her. She's company and you ought to stay with her more. Aren't you company too? I thought she'd suit Brooke, but he keeps talking to Meg, and Kate just stares at them through that ridiculous glass of hers. I'm going, so you needn't try to preach property. Property. For you can't do it, Joe. Miss Kate did know several new games, and as the girls would not, and the boy could not eat any more, they all adjourned to the drawing room to play rigmarole. One person begins a story and nonsense you like, any nonsense you like, and tells along as he pleases, only taking care to stop short at some exciting point when the next takes it up and does the same. It is very funny when well done and makes a perfect jumble or comical stuff to laugh over. Please start it, Mr. Brooke, said Kate with a commanding air, which surprised Meg, who treated the tutor with as much respect as any other gentleman. Laying on the grass at the feet of the two young ladies, Mr. Brooke obediently began the story with the handsome brown eyes steadily fixed upon the Sunshine River. Let me see. Once upon a time, a knight went out into the world to seek his fortune, for he had nothing but his sword and his shield. He travelled a long while, nearly 28 years, and had a hard time of it, till he came to the palace of a good old king, who had offered a reward to anyone who would tame and train a fine but unbroken colt, which he was very fond. The knight agreed to try, and got on slowly but surely, for the colt was a glutton fellow, and soon learned to love his new master, though he was freakish and wild. Every day, when he gave his lessons to this pet of the king's, the knight rode him through the city, and as he rode, he looked everywhere for a certain beautiful face, which he had seen many times in his dreams, but never found. One day, as he went prancing down a quiet street, he saw at the window of a Rhinos castle the lovely face. He was delighted, inquired who lived in this old castle, and was told that several captive princesses were kept there by a spell, and spun all day to lay up money to buy their liberty. The knight wished intensely that he could free them, but he was poor and could only go by each day, watching for the sweet face and longing to see it out in the sunshine. At last he resolved to get into the castle and ask how he could help them. He went and knocked. The great door flew open, and he beheld a ravishingly lovely lady, who exclaimed with a cry of rapture, At last, continued Kate, who had read French novels and admired the style. "'Tis she. cried Count Gustav, and fell at her feet in ecstasy. Ecstasy. Wow, ecstasy of joy. Oh, raise, she said, extending a hand of marble fairness. Never till you tell me, never till you tell me how I may rescue. Saw the knight, still kneeling. Alas, my cruel fate condemns me to remain here till my tyrant is destroyed. Where's the villain and the wolf salon? Go, brave heart, and save me from despair. I obey, and return victorious or dead. With these thrilling words, he rushed away, and flinging open the door of the mauve salon, was about to enter when he received a stunning blow from the big Greek lexicon, which an old fellow in a black gown fired at him. Said Ned instantly, "Sir, what is his name?" Recovered himself, pitched the tyrant out of the window, and turned to join the lady. Victorious, but with a bump on his brow, found the door locked, tore up the curtains, made a rope ladder, got halfway down when the ladder broke, and he went head first into the moat, 60 feet below, could swim like a duck, paddled around the castle till he came to a little door guarded by two stalwart fellows, knocked their heads together till they cracked like a cobble of nuts. Then, by a trifling exertion of his prodigious strength, what is this word? He smashed in the door, went up a pair of stone steps covered with dust a foot thick, toots as big as your fist, and spiders that would frighten you into hysterics. Miss March. At the top of the steps he came plump upon a sight that took his breath away and chilled his blood. A tall figure, all in white, with a veil over its face and a lamp in its wasted hand. Went on, Meg. It beckoned, gliding noiselessly before him down a corridor as dark and cold as any tomb. Shadowy effigies in armor stood on either side. A dead silence reigned. The lamp burned blue, and ghostly figure ever and anon turned its face toward him, showing the glitter of awful eyes through its white veil. They reached a curtained door, behind which sounded lovely music. He sprang forward to enter, but the spectre plucked him back, and waved threateningly before him. Let me highlight this one. "Snuff box," said Joe, in a spultural. What is this one? Spluttral tone which convulsed the audience. "Thank ye," said the knight politely, as he took a pinch and sneezed 7 times so violently that his head fell off. "Ha, ha," laughed the ghost, and having peeped through the keyhole at the princess's pining away for dear life, the evil spirit picked up her victim and put him in a large tin box. where there were 11 other knights packed together without their heads like sardines, who all rose and began to dance a hornpipe cut in thread, as Joe paused for breath. And as they danced, the rubbishy old castle turned to a man of war in full sail. Up with the ship, reefed to the topsail, her Holayet's helm hard early, and manned the guns, rode the captain as a Portuguese pirate, hove in sight, with a flag black as ink flying from her foremast, go on and win my hearties.